Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:06. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in on this beautiful Monday morning in your nation's capital. It's Thanksgiving week. I hope you're all excited for family and food and football. Coming up at 6:35, 30 minutes from now, Mark Mix, president of National Right to Work Committee. 7:05, Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Trevor Maddich on that insane fourth quarter, insane final 3 minutes of that Redskins, Command Skins Cowboys game. And then at 8:05, Charlie Gasparino. And coming up later in the program, World War III. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes
I don't mean to laugh
Schlapp.
at that, but I said it to you, and you're like, okay,
Yes.
we're going to come back from commercial break and talk about World War III.
Mercedes, we're doing our rundown. We're talking about topics we want to get to. And we said, and we definitely have to talk about World War III. Well, yeah, definitely. If World War III is happening, we're definitely going to talk about it.
We're on it.
I'm
sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
That's why we're here. O'Connor and Company is all about getting you informed and ready for your day ahead of you. And hopefully, you ended up with a smile on your face. You're a little entertained. You're in an upbeat mood, even if it's World War III.
Yeah, you're ready? No, I mean, we say this, I know you're I know we're joking, but the reality is you had in Sweden and in some of these European countries, they're literally sending out pamphlets how to prepare if there is nuclear war. Are you tracking this at all? Or is it just me?
We have been discussing it, the fact that the missiles, the increase in capability of the missiles that are now being launched back and forth between Ukraine and Russia is unnerving, to say the least. It's also a little disconcerting that we don't have any public statement from the President of the United States. That would be Joe Biden.
He basically said use American missiles on Russia, and Russia is, of course, using that as are we going to expand this war or not? And then you have France. It's so weird. These European countries, they're the ones that rely on the United States for their defense in so many ways and rely on NATO, which for their defense, yet they're facilitating all these missiles to Ukraine to use against Russia instead of saying, can't we find a way towards peace?
Right.
And I remember speaking to one of Zelensky's closest advisors who basically told me, he goes, by the end of 2024, we should be done with this war, where that doesn't seem to be the case because we've been just providing, billions of dollars of American taxpayer dollars into this war, into supporting Ukraine. And of course, look, Russia is no friend of ours. They're an adversary. They're working with North Korea. They're working with China. They're working with Iran. I mean, we know that there's North Korean troops that are being utilized by the Russians. But we got to understand that if we go down this path of just deploying missiles, we're going to end up into an escalated situation, which Biden is facilitating.
Russia is the bad guy, and they infringed on a sovereign country's territory, and it's wrong, and they're absolutely horrible. But there was a time in world geopolitical landscape in the foreign policy realm where Russia would do stuff like that, but because they're a giant nuclear power, your reaction would be somewhat, tempered by the fact that any escalation could lead to something super duper bad. We seem to have lost that position and lost that footing with them, and we seem to be poking the bear in such a way that makes one wonder why the second you suggest, hey, maybe we should figure out a way to peacefully resolve this stalemate that's going on instead of escalating it with more powerful weapons, you're suddenly called an asset of Vladimir Putin and that you're working for the enemy, which brings us to two positions that need to be filled in the Trump cabinet that are currently under fire by all of those people that we're talking about that immediately start screaming if you dare to say maybe we should look for a peaceful resolution. Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth. Let's start with Tulsi Gabbard. She is, again, a former congresswoman. She is an active duty officer in the United States Army, and she is being absolutely destroyed. Her character is being completely slimed by Democrats. Here's Tammy Duckworth in the Senate saying that Tulsi Gabbard is compromised and a Russian asset.
Well, I think she's compromised. I think by going to Syria and basically backing.
Wait, now notice she says basically backing aside. No, no, no.
Basically.
What do you mean basically? Tell us all of the stuff that gets thrown around about her. And again, I'm not defending her. You can smell it a mile away. They say, I'll let her finish.
And
yeah, hang on.
A brutal dictator there. Russian-controlled media called her a Russian asset.
Russian-controlled media. So we have to believe Russian-controlled media.
Oh, yes, we do.
That's the irony of all of this.
Yeah. Can I talk now?
Yes, please.
Okay. Number one, Megyn Kelly came out basically saying that, it was during the rise of Tulsi Gabbard in the Democrat Party.
I have that. Do you want to hear Megyn Kelly instead of you real fast?
I think I'm better than Megyn. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, let's hear Megyn
right,
Kelly. I love Megyn Kelly. Go
This
ahead.
was started by Hillary Clinton.
Why?
She started the Tulsi because Tulsi was a rising star within Democratic politics. She had all the boxes checked. She was a woman. She was a minority. She was the first this and the first that. And she was a combat vet. Beautiful, well-spoken, amazing. And then she started to be kind of open-minded to what Bernie Sanders was saying and maybe had some problems with the Hillary Clinton messaging and having Hillary shoved down our throat as the Democratic nominee back in 2016 and spoke up about it and started to make enemies in the party because of that, and then was outraged when she found out the DNC cheated on behalf of Hillary to try to make sure she got the nomination and screwed Bernie, and she was angry, and a rift was formed. Then Hillary Clinton called her a Russian asset, just like Hillary Clinton's campaign was the one that made up that Donald Trump was a Russian asset.
Dossier, the Russia hoax.
Her campaign made up all the stuff about there being a server in Trump Tower and
that's right, and you know the rest of it, but it's the same playbook. You get on the bad side of the monolith, the Clinton, sort of deep state beast here, and they go right to Russian asset. And
100, and they put you on a blacklist, and then they try to destroy you. I mean, and this is what happened with Tulsi, which is why, Matt Schlapp during CPAC spoke with Tulsi, said, "Listen, come tell your story at CPAC," because she was canceled, in essence, canceled by the Democrat Party.
That's right.
And in essence said, she was an independent at the time. And she's saying, look, they went after me. They attacked me. They tried to destroy me. And there you have, the fact that they're going to still look, these Democrats, to stop Tulsi Gabbard because they view her as basically betraying the party. But can I add one more thing?
Of course.
So you're going to laugh at me. On World War III, so the Swedes put out this pamphlet.
You know what? I will not let you finish it. We are going to talk about that, but I just want to finish our conversation about Tulsi Gabbard and Pete Hegseth and the stuff about them.
So I think people want to talk about World War III, but sure, go ahead. Go.
Well, we'll continue.
I'm waiting.
A moment. We'll continue in a moment.
Impossible to deal with.
You'll hear what Senator Mark Wayne Mullen had to say about those attacks. Tammy Duckworth's attack on Tulsi Gabbard.
I think the World War III prepper list is more exciting than.
We will also let you hear what they're saying about Pete Hegseth and the pushback on those allegations, and you will hear finally what Sweden is telling their citizens about the onset of World War III. All that coming. You don't want to give away the World War III stuff immediately. You want to make people wait for World War III. Especially when, what's more important right now, World War III or traffic on the Beltway? Because it's 6:15. WMAL traffic and weather every 10 minutes. First on the Pfizer. Probably looks like World War III out there. Jamie Whitten in the Hadid Carpet Cleaning Traffic Center.
Tulsi Gabbard is still Lieutenant Colonel in the United States Army. She commands the reserve unit here in Oklahoma and Missouri. If she was compromised, if she wasn't able to pass a background check, if she wasn't able to do her job, she still wouldn't be in the Army. And so Tammy is absolutely dead wrong on this, and she should retract those words. That's the most dangerous thing she could say, is that a United States Lieutenant Colonel and the United States Army is compromised and is an asset of Russia.
That's right. That's Senator Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma. And it is amazing how people are playing so fast and loose with these allegations against Tammy Duckworth. Against Tulsi Gabbard, considering she is an active duty officer in the military. If you're an active duty officer in the military at the level of colonel, I think you have to have at least a secret clearance, if not top secret clearance. It's outrageous that she's.
No, it is outrageous. And look, I think that this is the price that a lot of these people have to pay. I mean, you're seeing what they're trying to do with Pete Hegseth. And so that's going to be interesting to see if the Republican senators like the Mitch McConnells are willing to support Pete Hegseth. I think with the Matt Gaetz scenario, you're seeing that the senators are not backing down. They're not just saying, okay, President Trump, pick your people. They want to say in this issue, and they're going to determine who goes in and goes out. And the reality is, Larry, that there's still these, what you would call the rhinos, and they still have a voice and a vote. And that's going to be interesting to see if they trust Tulsi in this intelligence position, and whether the Republicans are going to just cave into the Democrats' line that Tulsi Gabbard was a Russian asset, all created by the Hillary Clinton machine.
You know, Tammy Duckworth also came after Pete Hegseth this weekend. This one is on Face the Nation, but it had little to do with some of the tawdry personal things that we're hearing and unfounded allegations about his personal life. Instead, it had to do with his qualifications for the job. But even then, well, you listen to what Tammy Duckworth had to say.
America's daughters are just as capable of defending liberty and freedom as her sons.
Having served in combat yourself, what do you think of the idea that women make fighting more complicated? That was specifically what he focused on.
Well, it just shows his lack of understanding of where our military is. You know, he was a pretty low-ranking guy in the military, and he never had a command position. He was a platoon leader, I think, once or twice, but he never even commanded a company. And so this is a man who is inordinately unqualified for the position.
Now, right there, that's a fascinating new wrinkle in the qualifications for Secretary of Defense, that you're unqualified unless you've been in the military and held a rank high enough to actually have command. I'm sorry, I thought we had a civilian-controlled military. Haven't we had secretaries of defense who have been quite good, who have never even served in the past? And also, isn't our commander-in-chief? They wanted Kamala Harris to be the commander-in-chief, for God's sake, and never suggested that she was unqualified. Exactly.
Or Joe Biden.
This is disgusting
thought.
What they're saying, that because you had because he was only a major, therefore he can't be the Secretary of Defense.
Look, I think, for Pete Hegseth, the challenge he has is that, he's kind of known as a Fox News personality. And so there is something to be said about the heftiness of that position. Now, he is, he has served in the military. Obviously, I think he's, quite competent in managing the Department of Defense. And at the end of the day, if you put strong sort of deputy defense secretaries with you, I think you could manage, the Defense Department. And part of this is communicating what you're doing at the Defense Department, how you're going to get rid of waste, how you're going to, now they're saying like the folks that are in the DEI department that they're all looking to resign when Pete Hegseth comes in, because I'm praying to God that that's the first initiative that is cut and we can really hone in on military readiness. I mean, we need to make sure that we have enough of our missiles in place, of making sure that our men and women that are in the armed forces have what they need in order to do their jobs. And you're going to need someone who's going to be that supporter for them. And I think, Pete Hegseth can do that.
Yeah, everybody's pushing back on this idea that, this person isn't qualified for that job and that person isn't qualified for that job. And oftentimes the knee-jerk and understandable response is, well, look at Pete Buttigieg. He couldn't do his job, and he had no track record for transportation. And Xavier Becerra, he had no experience to be Health and Human Services. And Mayorkas, what experience did he have to be Homeland Security? And by the way, they'd be right in making those arguments. But I'd like to make the argument a different way. There's this whole idea of resume and qualifications for jobs in the government. Janet Yellen, eminently qualified to be Secretary of Treasury. She had the perfect resume, right? Antony Blinken at the State Department, Secretary of State, perfect resume. He's made to order. He's got the Ivy League education. He had this job and that job. The resume was made to order for Secretary of State. Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, retired 4-star general, served here, served there, had this command, had that command. Eminently qualified, had the perfect resume. Look at those three guys. Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury. I'll throw Merrick Garland in there. Merrick Garland had the perfect resume to be Attorney General. According to how D.C. rates people to be qualified for jobs, those 4 people were perfection. And everything they did in the last 3.5 years under Joe Biden was a complete and total failure and disaster.
Yeah, and you think of General Mark Milley, obviously in a very prominent role in the Defense Department. I mean, the number of really bad decisions that Mark Milley made, General Mark Milley, I mean, he should have been kicked out of there long ago.
Maybe we should stop looking at these people based on what Ivy League they went to and what their resume looks like, and actually see what kind of competence they have. And on that front, I hope the Senate actually confirms people not based on their pedigree, because look what pedigree has given us for the last 4 years. You could argue that Joe Biden had the perfect pedigree and resume to be president of the United States. Stop with that. The people wanted Donald Trump because he's got a new way of doing things, so let him do it. It's 6:23.
Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It is 6:37 on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here. A busy Monday morning this Thanksgiving week. When last we checked in with Joe DeGenova, Matt Gaetz was the designee for the Attorney General position. Now it's Pam Bondi, and we still don't know who the FBI director might be. Joe DeGenova will join us at 7:05. Then at 7:35, Trevor Maddich on yesterday's insane ending to that Cowboys Command Skins game. 8:05, Charlie Gasparino, Fox Business Channel. It's Larry O'Connor with Mercedes Schlapp this holiday Monday. Good morning,
Isn't that
Mercy.
great to hang out together on Monday? I mean, normally we have the Thursdays together.
It's different.
It's different.
I don't want to say it's great. I don't want Julie Gunlock to feel like I'm,
Oh, we love our Julie. No,
Exactly.
I'm saying, I'm not saying to replace her.
And for
in
those
any
of you
way.
who want your Julie Gunlock fix, she will be live with me Thursday morning as we're both getting our stuffing and turkey ready, and Friday morning. So we got.
Are you doing what is it? The gobble gobble? What are you doing? That's
I
it.
am doing that. This week, by the way, just quickly so you know, Mercy today, tomorrow, Sean Spicer's going to be in all morning. Mercedes.
Oh, wow.
That's
going to be.
Tell me
I'm
about
not
it.
missing that. Are you kidding me?
I might. Then Wednesday, Patrice Onwuka. Then Thursday, Friday. We are live with full live coverage here all through your holiday, including Thanksgiving Day with Julie Gunlock. All right, joining us right now, Mark Mix. He's the president of National Right to Work Committee. Mark, you seem to be a little concerned about former Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer of Oregon being the designee now for Secretary of Labor. Thanks for joining us this morning. And tell me, what are your concerns here?
Well, Larry and Mercedes, thanks for the opportunity. We are the National Right to Work Committee, and she is one of 3 Republican co-sponsors of a bill that eliminates all right to work laws across the country. So that's for starters. The second part is she's against school choice. She's for unionizing TSA employees. She's for federal imposition of unionization and monopoly bargaining for all government employees across the country. These would be state employees and local employees. I mean, this doesn't jive with kind of the individual freedom and liberty that President-elect Trump, I should say, spouted on the campaign trail. But it's a pretty serious thing. Sean O'Brien and the Teamsters Union and Randy Weingarten of the AFT, the American Federation of Teachers, have given her a thumbs up, and they're excited about the possibility of having her run a very, very large $14 billion agency.
Yeah, on the face of it, that all sounds rather disconcerting. A couple of things, though. I'm hearing, listen, Trump obviously got some support from some of these big unions. At the very least, they would not support Kamala Harris. That was tantamount to an endorsement, and this is how politics is played. You got to let them have somebody in there and have a seat at the table, but ultimately it will be Trump's positions and Trump's policies that are carried out, not the secretaries.
Well, we hope so. And as Mercedes said earlier, I hope the United States Senate does do their advice and consent on these types of nominees, because these are important issues. But look, it wasn't union officials that supported Donald Trump. It was rank and file workers who believed in his policies about a secure border, fighting crime, less government, lower taxes, helping them with their wages like he did the first term. It wasn't forced unionism or the idea that everyone has to be in a union, and that's what she believes. Everyone needs to pay a union boss in order to work in America.
I got to tell you, Mark, I got several texts and calls on this nominee, very, very concerned about her getting this position. The way I think it works on the cabinet side is that I do think President Trump will be the one dictating how she is going to run the Labor Department. And it's a lot of this, so much of the Labor Department is about the regulations, right? What does this mean for workers? Do you think, I don't expect the president to support the PRO Act, but where do you think the president's head is on this issue? And, is it just an appeasement of the unions, and especially Sean O'Brien, who came out basically and speaking at the RNC convention this past summer?
Yeah, Mercedes. Well, I wish it would be just that simple, but it's not. Sean O'Brien did not endorse anyone in the presidential campaign.
That's right.
And what he did was polled his members. And it turns out from an internal poll that 62% of the Teamster members were going to be voting for Donald Trump. So Sean O'Brien's a politician too. And this kind of reeks of, the old thing, well, we got to pay off some people as opposed to setting an agenda. I mean, this nominee is going to be in charge of the agency that's trying to destroy the gig economy. I mean, Julie Su, the acting secretary in the Department of Labor, promulgated rules that said, look, if you're a photographer on the weekend or a musician or whatever, or an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, you now have to be an employee. And guess what? You can't unionize independent contractors, but you can unionize employees. So there's a lot going on here. Look, you're right, Mercedes. Trump will have his way, I'm sure. But the government's a pretty big operation, and little things like regulations matter.
As we saw with the Matt Gaetz pick for Attorney General, some Republican senators let him know pretty quickly that he was not going to enjoy their support when it came to a floor vote. Mark Mix from National Right to Work Committee, you have a pretty good understanding of what's going on Capitol Hill. Do you think that there are some Republicans who might step up on this? Have you spoken to any of them? Can you tell us what this fight is going to look like?
Well, I think Senator Cassidy, who's going to be the chairman, of the Committee of Jurisdiction over this nomination, has already expressed his concern about this, saying that he needs to have some significant answers about her position on stopping Louisiana from having a right-to-work law. So I think a lot of that's happened. We've spoken with a couple of Senate offices. I think they'll do their job. I think they want to defer to the president. No question about that, Larry and Mercedes. But there are real questions that need to be asked about this. Personnel is policy, as you know. Personnel is policy.
All right, we're going to leave it there, Mark Mix. But as this hearing begins, we're talking about all these confirmations. It's not going to be for 2 months until these confirmations begin. And Mr. Mix, we expect to hear from you not only on the public airwaves all over this country, but right here on WMAL. In the meantime, have a great Thanksgiving.
Great, Larry. One turkey call on the way out, please.
Don't get him started, Mark.
No, this needs to be a thing all week for every guest. Thanks, Mark. It's 6:43. So now that Pam Bondi is the designated appointee for Attorney General, that confirmation process is going to start lining up. And Senator Eric Schmitt joined NBC's Kirsten Welker on Meet the Press to talk about it. Now, Kirsten Welker tried to claim that Trump just wants to use the Attorney General position to settle political scores, right? She thought Eric Schmitt was going to say, yeah, that's right, that Trump, that orange man is bad. But Schmitt actually educated Kirsten Welker on what really needs to be done here at DOJ. Take a listen to this. It's a lengthy clip, but well worth your time. Listen.
Bondi has vowed to, quote, investigate the investigators, to prosecute the prosecutors. A different tone than you have struck, Senator. You've said that the DOJ should be, quote, going back to fighting crime and not settling political scores. How do you square those two different views?
Well, I will tell you that Pam Bondi has a track record. She's a very serious person. And I think she's seen the weaponization. Everybody's seen this weaponization of the Justice Department over the last 4 years. It really is a tragedy for a once respected agency that has gone after Catholics. It's gone after parents who showed up to school board meetings under the auspices of the Patriot Act. This is in the United States of America. And then clearly weaponized that department, Joe Biden did, and Merrick Garland, to go after their chief political opponent. And I'll tell you, Kristen, the arc of that story is really terrifying if you care about the Republic. After the midterms, Joe Biden said that there was no way President Trump would ever be back in the White House. After that speech, these zombie cases were resurrected. The number 3 person from DOJ went to New York, and you had the Alvin Bragg case. The number 2 prosecutor in Atlanta went to the White House and coordinated. You saw all these cases resurrected. They all fell apart under the weight of the law. And so I do think there needs to be accountability. I think that getting it back to crime fighting is important, but there has to be accountability for these kinds of abuses.
Okay, what specifically does accountability look like, Senator? Are you suggesting you want to see Special Counsel Jack Smith, Attorney General Merrick Garland prosecuted? Is that what you are implying?
Well, no, I think accountability.
I'm going to let him finish here, but isn't it remarkable that Kirsten Welker, Mercedes, she doesn't dispute all of the abuses that Senator Schmitt just laid out there. Look at what the DOJ did. Look what the FBI did to innocent Americans who don't deserve to be investigated. All she said was, well, what exactly does accountability look like?
Okay, but this is what drives me crazy, right? This is why the mainstream media, the legacy media, is dying. They do not cover these stories.
Yes.
They think that it's all the right-wing, media outlets and citizen journalists who cover these stories. Time and time again, we saw the abuse coming from Merrick Garland and that Department of Justice that literally used lawfare to take down not only Donald Trump, but any of those that were like using the FBI to go after the Catholics, calling parents domestic terrorists. Eric Schmitt is absolutely right. And it's why you're seeing a Pam Bondi nominee. So that nomination is so critical. It is really going to be one of the most important appointments that President Trump has made thus far because she has to dismantle the insanity from the inside. Literally, she should walk out many of those career prosecutors and lawyers and get them out.
Fire
and
everyone.
Then rebuild,
and then if they want their
Yeah.
jobs back, they can reapply, and then we will evaluate you.
Just one news article note here is that Pam Bondi literally responded to the fact that she is putting together a list to pardon some of these J6 individuals involved in the J6 scenario. So that is one of the latest things that she just posted on X.
You are right that Kirsten Walker and the Meet the Press and NBC News audience has not heard about all of these things that Senator Schmitt just laid out. That's part of the problem. Again, Kirsten Walker's question is, well, okay, fine. Yes, they did that. But how exactly do you hold them accountable? As if that's even a question.
If Attorney General Merrick Garland prosecuted, is that what you are implying?
Well, no, I think accountability means first and foremost, the people involved in this should be fired immediately. And anybody part of this this effort to keep President Trump off the ballot and to throw him in jail for the rest of his life because they didn't like his politics and to continue to cast him as a quote-unquote threat to democracy was wrong. And so we'll see where that goes. But I just don't think in this country, unless we want to be a banana republic, I don't want to see that happen. You can't have the Justice Department abused in this way. Pam Bondi is a smart, capable, tough person who I think is going to restore respect in that department.
So she has your vote, Senator?
Oh, absolutely. I intend to help Pam Bondi get the votes. I know her well. She's a friend. I've come to respect Pam Bondi. She was a great attorney general in Florida. This is a home run by President Trump.
Senator Eric Schmitt of Missouri, former attorney general of that state, too. Joe DeGenova joins us next. Talk about this and much more at 6:52.